Everybody, welcome back to GWN. Today we're here to talk about BH6 Base Designs. I've got 14 bases, and I'm just going to go through a slideshow and talk a little bit about each one of them. There's also an article on my blog.clashmaniac.com blog, and you can read about them there and grab your pictures there. Since we'll be doing slides, if you want, you can pause the video and do a build if you like. Everything you need to build, it'll be in the slide, but I recommend going over to the blog article, and I'll have the link down below. So, without further ado, let's talk about box bases. Box bases are just that, boxes shaped bases, and there's a few of them that are really common, starting off with the bracket bases. The whole purpose of bracket base, really of any of these bases anymore, is to redirect troops in a way that you want them to, typically into something like, say, the loving arms of a crusher. With air troops, you want to get them to the air bombs or the firecrackers, and that's what this base does. Taking a look at this, you can see we've got openings on the sides, the top, and the bottom. The object of the game is to prevent troops from trying to break through the walls, instead get them to walk in through the kind of upper right and lower left of the base, and then work their way around and into the crushers. Each one of these bases, and I'm not gonna repeat myself over and over again on this one because I want to save a little bit of time off the video. We've got a lot to go through, but each one of these bases uses that pathing to really control the troops as they come in, and that's why they're really difficult for a lot of ground troops to manage to work their way through. In this particular version of the brackets base, you'll notice I've got the air bombs and the roaster on opposite sides of the builder's hall. That is, of course, to take advantage of their capacity as air targeting defenses. And just in case, I've also got the mega mine at the top and bottom of the base as well. So between that, the air bombs, firecrackers on the other side, the roaster, coming at this for air is not going to be a pleasant experience. Even if you come from the top side, the left side there, that corner, and sweep your way down, you're still going to have problems with firecrackers and roaster. You're eventually going to get close enough to the builder's hall that air bomb is going to fire off. It's not going to be a good experience. It's not going to work out very well. The best way to beat this in most of these bases is with a ground attack that utilizes bombers to break through the walls to break the pathing. Once the pathing has been destroyed, the base's defenses are just that, just regular defenses. It's not as strong as other bases are anymore. I also come at this one with Mitch a lot, using the witches. Typically, sometimes I'll come from the left, sometimes right. It really depends on where the roaster and air bombs are at. But typically what I'll do is I will break through one of those major defenses with the bats and, of course, the battle machine. And then I'll send in all of my minions and let them do the rest of the damage, take out the builder's hall and so forth. There's a lot of different versions of this out there. And really, you just need to do that 30-second analysis at the beginning to get an idea of where you want to deploy your troops based upon where they've got the key defenses of multi-mortar, roaster, air bombs, crushers, and firecrackers. The rest of the defenses are important. Those are the ones that are really going to blow your attack up, though. So kind of figure out where they're at and either come in from the opposite end, or if you come in from that side, make sure that you've got the appropriate distractions. Moving on, taking a look at a new version of the brackets base that we see a lot. It's the same basic concepts. A little bit different because you got some trap placement to deal with here. Generally, the placement of the roaster and the air bombs can be a problem. A lot of people like to put those together, though, so that actually factors in your favor. This version of it does not have it that way. I split them apart because of the obvious issues that brings about. So same thing, you can come at it with Mitch. You can come at it with a bomber-based attack with some tanks, either giants or battle machine. To a degree, I guess you can use barbarians for that. A lot of people like to use backdoor barbs on a base like this. It actually works pretty good. If you can get in there with the archers and take out things like, probably coming from the left, but if you can take out things like the gold storage and finally work your way in past that archer tower to the roaster, if you can get those things out of the way, then a backdoor barb attack would work. Likewise, if you can work your way through one of the sides and get to one of the crushers, you can probably get a 2-star out of it by using your archers and then bringing in the battle machine. So a couple ways you can beat that one. This is another version of the brackets base, but this one's closed off, so it's kind of a boxed brackets base. Same basic concept. This is one of those bases, though, that I like to beat on the wall at the bottom. I don't know about anybody else, but I like to beat on the wall at the bottom and break my way in down there. Sometimes I'll go ahead and bring the air troops in. A lot depends, again, on just how they've got the roaster and air bombs set up. In this particular one, you can see the top of the base is pretty well defended against air. I mean, it's going to take you a long time to even get to the firecracker, much less the roaster and the air bombs. Having the air bombs right next to the builder's hall means that really anywhere you come from is going to be covered. So any way you do it, your air is going to have problems with this base. Ground is the best way to go. You can do a Mitch attack. It might do okay. You can do Baby Dragon spam. Bring it around the kind of the left, bottom, and right there. Coming in from the top, not so good because those air bombs will get you pretty quick. But you can at least get a good solid 50 to 75% of the base with a Baby Dragon spam on something like this. If they've got something like the air bombs under construction, well, then by all means, go in with beta minions, do mass beta minion, whatever. It'll do pretty good any way you cut it. But when you're dealing with a base that's either maxed or doesn't have anything under construction, you're going to have to tread a little bit more lightly with it. This is the old meta base. I think the brackets base was largely based on this arrangement, to be honest. I like to use cannon carts against this. Now that I've got level 12 cannon carts, I can do 2 camps of level 12 giants, 2 camps of level 12 cannon carts. Come in from that top corner up there, and usually I break it down first with the battle machine. Let them take any traps out that are up there. Typically, somebody will put a mega mine in that region. Sometimes they put a spring trap like I've got up there. But you break your way in, drop your giants, give it a few more seconds, drop your cannon carts, and just let them work their way into the middle. That works on this base. It works on the lithium base. You just have to drop your battle machine a little bit to the right. One of the ways to get around that is to put something on the outside of the base. I don't know. I don't like doing that. I kind of like keeping the base as it is when I run the meta base. A lot of people don't know how to beat this base very well, so it doesn't really hurt. Can you use air against it? Yeah. I've used Mitch against this coming from the right. Let the bats come in and take out those 2 high hit point structures, the clock tower and the Star Laboratory. I would not come from the left. I wouldn't come from the top or the bottom. Both of those put you within range of the air bombs fairly quickly. If you can do it from the right, you'll probably knock out that multi-mortar pretty quick. And then you'll just have the roaster to deal with, which can be a problem, obviously, for any air troops, including the bats. And you want to get your minions in as quick as you can. But if the witches continue to work their way up and they stop there in the middle and just keep sending in bats, which they often will do, that will keep the roaster busy to the extent that you won't have to worry about it taking out your minions. So that's a good idea of a way to beat this base. Cannon carts, beta minions, barbs will do fine, giants will do fine. This base has been around a long time. A lot of people have learned how to beat it. This base here, I go back and forth on this one. It's kind of a boxed inlet base with those openings down at the bottom. Coming in from the top of the base doesn't seem to work out very well. A lot of that is due to pathing. Your regular ground troops are going to get smashed. They're going to get targeted by the archer towers, the cannons. If you hit it with bombers, once again, to disrupt the walls and the pathing, that helps. But I just haven't had good luck with this one coming in from the north. Likewise, air. I'll bring it in from the north, but inevitably there's an air set mega mine up at the top. So you have to take that into account. Mitch will do pretty good against this one because, again, you got those bats running interference for the beta minions and clearing out mines and such. Coming up from the bottom, I would start my ground attack from the bottom, but you've got to deal with those double cannons. The multi-mortar actually isn't that big of a deal for the ground troops, believe it or not, coming in from down there because you can get to it pretty quick. This version of it has that kind of bottom bracket moved off to the side. The purpose of that is to get people to come in through the lower left rather than the upper right. I don't think it really matters. It's just the version that I had up that I was running. So, yeah, take it for what it's worth. Do as you will. This is the traditional lithium base. Also not very commonly seen anymore, believe it or not. But still works pretty good, especially at the lower levels. I like to use the cannon carts on it. I like to use Mitch on it. This version of it has the placement of the roaster and the air bombs towards the bottom apex. And that's protecting against an attack from the air from the bottom. So on this one, an air attack from the top apex would actually work pretty well. So would Mitch. You can move that around, and a lot of people do. I kind of centralized the builder's hull on this one. Moved it up towards the middle a little bit to get a little bit better presence out of it. And the firecrackers do okay in defending against most air attacks up there. By the time something gets down to the builder hull, it usually gets within range of the air bombs. And that usually does a decent enough job of taking it out so that it doesn't get the 2-star. Moving on. Now this is one of my favorites of the new box bases that I've been finding. It's a funnel. Interesting thing about this funnel is the way the openings are set on left and right. You'll notice they're kind of offset of each other. And then the opening that goes into the center of the base from either one of those, protected by, of course, the crushers and so forth. If somebody doesn't bring bombers to the game, this just absolutely destroys the ground assault. As is the case with most of these, if you simply go in with bombers and take out the walls so that your troops can rush straight through, it's just another base. It's just another set of defenses. You'll get through, you'll be fine. That's why you want to have those mega mines at the top and the bottom there set to ground as opposed to air. Air attacks typically falter because they have the roaster and a firecracker, air bombs and a firecracker, and then archer towers in between that they got to deal with. So it's not a very friendly base for any of these troop compositions. Cannon carts, no. I don't think I would try cannon carts on this base at all. Between the way the traps are laid out and just the way the walls are, it wouldn't make sense. There's too many things that can reach out and touch them on the outside from inside, and they just don't have the necessary hit points to be able to really withstand the damage that they'll take on. And even though they got decent DPS, it'll take them a while to get to anything to be able to actually do anything with it. So this is really a fun base to run, and especially in the lower league or lower levels of the trophy rankings, because a lot of people just don't have the power to beat through this base, and it's fun to watch their troops get routed all over the place. Moving on to some of the diamond bases now. This is my favorite diamond base. This is the one I've run for months on most of my games. Does a really good job of pathing. I like how the walls on the left and the bottom there are really the only place that anything's going to smash through. Everywhere else, whatever comes at it is going to walk around the edges. Now, to try to deal with that, you've got those two walls that are kind of hanging outside there that are separated. Most of the time when a player drops down, they'll drop outside of that just far enough to let whatever it is walk in, especially the case with your battle machine. Once they reach that wall, inevitably the player didn't drop them just right, and it ends up walking to the left or the right. Well, by the time it gets there, it's not going to go straight into that wall and start pounding. Instead, it's probably going to walk up to the top of the base there and come in around that wall where the gold storage and barracks are located. In some cases, it'll walk down to the bottom and it might pound down there, but it's going to be within range of the archer tower, and depending upon which troop it is and how it tries to break in, it might even come into range of the roasters. So the pathing on this base is the thing that gives it its strength. Now, as is the case with other pathing-based bases, if you hit it with bombers, you're going to ruin the pathing. And that's exactly the weakness for this base, is coming in with bombers more or less to the lower right-hand side of it. Likewise, if you come in from the very top corner and bring in a mass witch attack, if it's a max mass witch, that will often do the job too. The witch's first volley of bats will hit that Megamind that is set to air and take it out, and then they walk through the base. So as long as they've got their tank in the battle machine, they'll just keep on firing away. And Mass Witch has done fairly well against this base in the past. This is a diamond base with compartments that I've started using on Cyberon, and it's an interesting base. Like the Shroud base that I've got coming up here in the Pagoda base, it has kind of a top compartment that just it ends up being busy work for whatever gets stuck in there. And then, of course, it has to get back out again, whatever is in there, so it's going to end up beating on the walls. The way the push traps are set up, it'll keep pushing them into compartments and into the Megamines. It doesn't matter what you do coming from the top with ground troops. They're going to end up in those compartments at some point, and that wastes their time, and it just lets them get pummeled by all the centrally situated defenses. Same thing goes for air. You come in from the north, you're going to deal with both the roaster and the air bombs. That's going to take a good chunk of whatever you got coming in from the air. Firecrackers out to the side helps when dealing with baby dragon spam. And, of course, having the archers down at the bottom does as well. You can come up from the bottom with ground troops. They'll walk around to the two sides and get thrown all over the place. So that pretty well eliminates ground troop spam. Now, if somebody comes in slow, if they trickle things in, they'll be able to get through those two corners. But most players don't do that. And even if they do, they've still got a ton of stuff to deal with. The high hit point structures of the gold and elixir storages, again, situated on both of the corners, slow down the troops so that the archer towers can sit there and just shoot at them until there's no tomorrow. And of course, you've got the cannons on the side that'll also be shooting at them. So from a defensive perspective, this base is pretty well designed. The arrangement of the mines, the traps, and so forth, it's very specifically designed to take out ground troops, and then the arrangement of the defenses is good for defeating most air troops. This is the Shroud base I was talking about. This has been becoming more common in the top 100, and I've seen it on a number of games I've played as well. The Shroud across the top typically redirects troops around the sides. Some will try to break through, and that's fine. If they do, they'll get redirected around to the sides as they go one building to the next, to the next, to the next. And then, of course, they'll get sprung in towards the middle where they have the Crushers just happily waiting to chomp them down. Air attacks from the north, not so great. Air attacks from the south, yeah, not a bad idea, but you're going to be dealing with the Archer Towers and the Tesla, and of course I've got that Megamind down there just waiting for somebody to come in. Same thing goes for the north. I got the Megamind up there waiting for somebody to come in as well. So if you come at it with air troops, you're going to have some problems. Baby Dragon spam, same thing. You've got those centrally located firecrackers are going to keep you busy. The air bombs at the top can reach out and touch, and so can the Archer Towers at the bottom, while the baby dragons are sitting there busily and happily spitting all over the high hit point structures that are waiting for them across the sides at the bottom. So not a bad base, does some pretty good stuff. What to use to defeat it: start off with your bombers. You can use cannon cars and giants. You can use barbarians. But the thing is, you have to disrupt the pathing in order to get these things to work, and that means busting down those walls. Typically from a side will really do the job. Typically from the top, to be honest, because I hate dealing with those Crushers at the bottom. But you can do it. Sneaky archers, they're not going to do very well. You got the two block gaps down there. So if they want to come in, they're going to have to come in from the top or from the sides, the left and right apex of the base. Yeah, you can do that, but you'll be sitting working on some high hit point structures, so you're going to lose a lot of archers to that. Will they be able to work their way into the middle and get the 2-star? No. Sneaky Archer Tech's not going to get 2 stars on this. The ones that probably will get the 2 stars are ones that are backed up with bombers to take the walls out of play. My current favorite, the Pagoda Diamond. I recently redid this base a little bit, did a revised version of it, where I dropped those southernmost walls out one more block and brought the gold mine up into the base. Still testing it. Still got to see how it does. I just did it last night. Seems to be working out pretty good. This version of the base works just fine as well. Has all the same concepts we've already discussed in the diamond bases. And having that closed shroud at the top, sometimes you'll see it where it's open. People will lift the walls that are closing it on the left and the right. They'll pull those outside and then up a block. I don't do that because I like trapping stuff in there. Just like the compartment base I talked about earlier, this base has the benefit of actually trapping within the base, up at that top thing there, just about any of the ground troops. And then they're sitting there hammering away. They're getting hit by the archer towers, by the multi-mortar. They're getting hit by the roaster, even the cannons and double cannons get in on the game, depending on where they're at. I cannot begin to tell you the number of times somebody has come in from the top, dropped their battle machine and let them break in up there, and then the battle machine just gets trapped in this top shroud. It renders them ineffective. Coming in from the bottom looks like the best way to come until you actually do it. If you do it from an air attack, you're going to hit a ton of mines. If you do it with a ground attack, you've got the archer tower that's set to short range. It's going to hit you harder. The long range archer towers will get you eventually. The crushers get you. You've got high hit point structures. So not a good way to come in from the south. That's what I really like about this base. This is the wedge. Very similar to the other diamond bases. Just got a little bit bigger bottom opening. Works much the same way as the other ones. You've got the pathing. By having those structures on the outside at the top, you can't just break your way in. You have to walk around the edge. Any troops that are dropped along the top sides or the very top are going to walk around. You can go ahead and take those out with something like minions or sneaky archers or whatever, so that if you drop the battle machine, he'll break his way in at the top. But you do that, you're going to waste troops, which will be taken out pretty quickly as they work their way around, because you've got, you know, double cannons and multi-mortar and roaster and archer tower up there. But by the time he finally does break through, he's going to be dealing with all of those centralized defenses as well. They're going to take him out pretty quick. Coming up from the south, you run into problems with the Mega Mine that's set to air, and then the Tesla, and of course the air bombs if you're literally just coming right up the middle from an air attack. Ground attack, you'll get started, but you're going to split off by the time you get to the cannons, and your troops won't be together when they get to the crushers. You can use archers, and they will. Sneaky archer, mass archer attack will work good from the bottom. That's one of the better ways to take this base out. But again, you're dealing with some problematic structures trying to get to those crushers. And if you want to send your battle machine in after the sneaky archers to take out the builder's hall, which is usually how it's done, you're probably not going to be able to do it. You're not going to get both of those crushers out. I don't think that I've seen anybody 3-star this yet on the base or the games that I've run it on. There's been a couple of 2-stars, but I don't know that anybody's actually 3-starred it, even with a stronger attack, a maxed attack. I have no doubt it can be 3-starred because there's no base that's perfect, but it has fared fairly well in the games that I've run it on. And next two I've got, these are what I call a diamond in a box. And these are the last two that I've got for this video. They're both basically the same. Somebody took a diamond base and they closed it off. That's all it is. It's a diamond base that's been closed off. Whereas you would normally see a southern teaser style on something like this, they brought the walls together because of Builder's Hall 6 you get a couple more walls. And they function exactly like any other diamond box. Break in from the north if you want to. Come up from the south or the left or the right with air. Treat them just like any other diamond in a box that you see. The second one I've got, there you go. You can see this one. It's exactly the same. I think this one, more than anything else, shows how well you can take a diamond box and convert, or diamond base and convert it to a box. This literally was a Builder's Hall 5 diamond base, and when it got to Builder's Hall 6, things were spread out a little bit. Insert the second crusher, put in the additional other defensive structures, then close it off. Absolutely no different than any diamond base that you deal with. Does about the same as far as defense as to how well it works. Not so bad as an interim base while you're trying to get a couple of things when you first get to Builder Hall 6. If you know you don't have all the the golden elixir saved up to do the things you want to do. So, for what that's worth, it's an option to consider. Either one of them are great great bases. So that's what I got for you today. A little bit long, about 25-minute video, but not too bad. Hit like, hit subscribe. Be sure to go to blog.clashmaniac.com and check out the article that goes along with this. I'll put it down, a link in the description. And thanks for sticking around to the end. Y'all take care. Bye now.